Hi everybody, it's Laura here from Healing with Spirit, just kind of getting my notebook out. And the dog is barking. So, last night I did a YouTube live. I figured I would try to do something different and do a YouTube live on all these wonky energies that we have been experiencing this year, this month, the last 48 hours, or at the time, last 24 hours. And so I did a live on YouTube last night talking about Biden dropped out. So now what from the spirit side of things? And it was quite interesting because yesterday I got up really early and because I decided I was going to take off for the day, and we were going to look at this tower that was built by Irish immigrants in Milford, Massachusetts. It's the tallest one in all of the US and has some historic significance. And coming back from a pilgrimage to Ireland, I thought it was important. But because we pre-released the podcast regarding the election predictions early, 3 weeks early, and then literally like the day before the Trump thing happened is when we dropped it, all these things going pop, 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 pop started to happen. So I decided to do a live. So yesterday morning I got up and I said, I'm going to go schedule it and put it all out in social media. I put it on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, even created a Facebook event for an online event for the YouTube live. I put it on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, even created a Facebook event for an online event for the YouTube live to go look at the tower. But I'm you're interested in your handle. Hi Vivian, nice to meet you. So I find it quite interesting because here Biden drops out on the full moon in Capricorn. Am I surprised? Nah, not at all. He's a Scorpio. He's very in tune. He's very in touch with the spirit world. He doesn't talk about it because he focuses on the religion aspect. But I have said it all along. I said it in my election predictions in the past that, that he is extraordinarily intuitive, and I have said it in prior election predictions about him. And again, it's his generation. It was kind of poo-poo, just like my grandmother who immigrated from Russia, married into Russian Orthodox Christian church. It wasn't really talked about how intuitive that she was. So a lot of her intuitive stuff stayed within the family. Okay. And, it was fascinating because she used to read tea leaves. A lot of my intuitive gifts all come from that Russian side of the family, plus my Irish side on my mother's side. So I got it on both sides of my family. And, my dad used it as a physician, where he was able to diagnose cancer and things like appendicitis and other things. I've watched him do it over 40 years without tests because he trusted his intuition. His intuition was right and the tests were wrong. Okay. So it's just this phenomenal thing. So anyway, I find it interesting that on the way going to see this monument yesterday, 3 times in a matter of 15 hours, and I did post a video about it more for the story and the videos of what happened yesterday, where I called 911. In my 50 plus years, I have never had to call 911 3 times in a matter of 15 years. This kind of gives you like a whole thing about like the energies of what's happening, right? So like we had somebody that was, a neighbor, and, I called because frankly, he was walking around his yard naked, and which said to me he was not with it up here. He's an older man. And so I called because I wanted to make sure he was okay. And luckily he was open about a lot of things that was weighing on him. And he did go get service. But when I explained to the male cop that arrived, the male cop kind of rolled his eyes and kind of like, one of these, like kind of attitude. And I'm like, you know what? I don't need guns blazing. This guy just needs help. He needs medical help. And so when 2 female cops arrived, I reiterated, showed him the picture, showed him what I witnessed, showed him like all these things, that this person has a history and he needs help. And that took the reins, led the situation, got an ambulance there, and the person was willing to get some help. So yesterday, yes, I kind of started off doing this whole thing because Spirit kept telling me Sunday, you need to do a follow-up on your YouTube live on like what happened with like Trump and Biden and blah, 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 blah. Because we said in our podcast, if you haven't seen it, Triggers in Spiritual Medicine, go watch it. It was supposed to drop August 5th. We dropped it 3 weeks early. Okay, Spirit kept telling me, you need to drop it now, you need to drop it now, you need to drop it now. Just like Spirit kept telling me on Sunday, you need to do a live, you need to do a live, you need to do a live. And I was just, I just didn't feel, I felt a little too chaotic to do it. And so yesterday I said, okay, I'll do it tomorrow night, last night, after can you tell my friend Mike Hunt happy birthday? He's turning 60. Happy birthday, Mike Hunt. You're funny. Anyway, I didn't know you had that and an ongoing in this link in your bio. Yes, so the podcast is in the bio. And so we talked about that neither one of us, my friend who's the astrologer, saw either candidate being in the presidency by January. So I've done 2 lives on YouTube. You can see it on YouTube. And where I talked about what happened after Trump and what the energies aligned and what's showing up, from a numerology. I also talked about, because a lot of people were asking me about the third party aspect. And I did the numerology, tarot, all those things, the astrology aspect. At least a small limit, because I'm not an astrologer, but I do blend some astrology in. And so with the third parties, like if a third party was going to get elected, what does that look like? Because I did get a lot of questions about, well, what do you think about third party? I do think that this is the first time, although since Biden stepped down, I do feel like that third party option, the energy has shifted. And again, we do our predictions based on the energy. And so yesterday I did, go check out the replay on YouTube. You can check the link to the podcast on YouTube, because it's linked there, is in the bio as well. It's on the Triggers in Spiritual Medicine podcast on YouTube, I didn't stream it elsewhere. It's just on YouTube. So I find it fascinating because after I started doing the numbers, because for some reason I didn't include Kamala, because I still feel like Kamala has a target on her back, and that's a little concerning. So I was like focused on third party and what would happen with Biden and blah, 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 blah. So when I did Kamala's stuff, I found it very interesting how aligned. She's also very intuitive. And she's also grown. You may not have liked her, for instance, 4 years ago. And links are in the bio, 111 and 333 all the time. My ears also ring certain times when something happens. Yes. And your ears will ring if there's a solar flare or if there's a shot up in the Schumann's resonance on the Earth's electrical grid. Those will also do that as well. But here's an interesting thing that I go into detail about Kamala Harris. Both the tarot, which kind of gave me like goosebumps. So I did tarot and the numerology on Trump and Kamala, assuming that they both are the ones nominated. And then I did cards on the general overall election. So the general overall election clearly showed a female will win. Now, does that mean, like, if you go and review the things about what I said about third party, I did talk about that, I did Mike Johnson, RFK Jr., Marianne Williamson. A lot of people are shying away from Mike Jones, even though there's a power play there, but it's very much from a patriarchal, religious indoctrination types of scenario. And RFK Jr. and Marianne Williamson had very similar numerology, very similar energies behind them, but come from two different backgrounds. And that subtlety is what made Marianne Williamson just a hair, not by much, as what this country needed from a third party's perspective. And but I also said the country isn't ready for somebody like her. They're just not. She is the medicine this country needs, but we're not there yet collectively. Like that's like a catch-22, right? And my brother-in-law was killed. I'm so sorry. Keep talking to him because, you know, a lot of indigenous, depending on the culture and the spiritual practices, many believe anywhere between 30 and 40 days, roughly. The spirit is still transitioning, so the physical body transitioned, but sometimes that mental or etheric body is still here. That's why a lot of times those who aren't mediums, those who aren't psychics, can feel their loved one shortly after they pass, but they don't feel it after like 30 days go by, so to speak, you know, roughly 30 to 60 days. So, and that's because that body is still transitioning, that part of who they are, that mental body, right? So, yeah, she was always supposed to be the pick, but Biden was just holding out for the energy. That could be, you know. I really do think, I don't necessarily agree with that to a degree. I think if he was going to do it, he did pick Sunday to do it. But a lot of us that do this work that are credible are all kind of in alignment with saying that Biden, and it's not dementia, I think Biden has AFib. And I don't think that's been disclosed. I think he might have either post-COVID AFib or he has post-vax AFib. And that's deadly. So stress will make it worse and could kill him, which would make him not a viable candidate, okay? Trump, on the other hand, I think has something deeper. I think the assassination attempt, which I go into why I think it might be staged in the live I did on YouTube, is also distraction away for, I think he has something more serious. Oh, well, everything's serious, right? One's acute, one's chronic. But I think Trump has something else going on. I did talk about it last night as well, because those health issues did show up in the information I pulled up last night. The next 30 days are going to be extraordinary telling. This is where things are going to accelerate extraordinarily fast. That could also mean violence, because those who are trying to resist what needs to be and are trying to hold into power, they will exacerbate things. So that doesn't mean that we get anxious. It doesn't mean we go into fear mode or worry mode. It means we anchor, we ground, we get clear. That is what we need, okay? You feel his presence at home. Yes, yes. You know, just keep talking to him. He hears you, and, you know, keep doing that, and just keep saying, Mark, I hope you're safe. I hope things are well. Let me know. Give me a sign. And sometimes they will give you a sign. Like when my dad was dying, you know, a deer was showing up 4 days before, twice a day, and 4 days after he passed. And the last day I saw it was the day I went to go pick up his ashes. The deer was in front of my car, you know, when I went back to my car. So I know now, like, I've always associated deer with family anyway, but now I know, like, that's that side of the family now. So it gets, sometimes they'll give you those signs, you know. So yes, you know, anxiety, if we respond from a triggered, reactive place, we always make the wrong decisions. Always. When we are anchored, we are grounded. It is, how do we master the calm within the storm? How quickly can we get to the eye of the hurricane? We can see everything so clearly. And then we know what decisions to make. So that's the stuff I went over last night. And again, the replay for those who are just coming on is in the bio. So, and if you like the content that I do and you like all that, feel free to buy me a coffee and a tea. We do a lot of charity work. We do a lot of work around social justice and domestic violence and things like that. So I'm only able to do it with the help of folks like you. So that's been going on 20 years. So go look me up. You can see some of the stuff I've been doing. It's not hard to find. It's not me just talking shit. Yeah, so anyway, going back to the cards last night, what I will say, I have never, in all the years I've been doing election predictions, seen something more aligned in winning and what is needed, not just winning, but also what the country needs. And the last 15 years I've been doing predictions, as I have with Kamala Harris. And that's going to scare the fuck out of those that are in power. Her numerology, her tarot, her astrology, the fact that all this went down on the full moon in Capricorn during Pluto, the signs that Pluto is in, with all the things leading that are tied to what happened during the Civil War, what happened during the American Revolution. Again, we talk about all those things on the podcast. The podcast itself is available on all streaming platforms, including YouTube, but the 2 lives I did since then are only on YouTube. I'm a pagan in a Christian cafe right now watching your live and feeling the energy. Oh, good. That's interesting. I love it. That's awesome. God put you on the earth for a reason. Yeah, thank you. I'll tell you, walking my path, people think there's so many that want to do this for monetary reasons. I never did what I wanted to do as a career, what this is, as a career. It really, every time I tried to run away from it, Spirit kept bringing me back. So there's definitely I recognize it, but it definitely feels like a Joan of Arc kind of feeling, because to speak truth to power, to face hard truths, to do that hard work is not what the masses in our country want. It's just not. They say they do, but their actions aren't matching their words. And so for somebody like myself, especially with the growing neo-pagan white supremacy in the New Age communities, that is hugely culturally oppressive, culturally misappropriating from monetary, toxic capitalist purposes and spiritual bypassing with people that want to be gurus and experts without putting their due time in and gaining that experience is extraordinarily hard. Yes, so you're going through a huge awakening, Anna. Trust the process. Some say, I met a former Catholic nun once who became a spiritualist priest who talked a lot about the Holy Spirit is those are our guides, those are our goddesses, those are our enlightened beings. They're one and the same. It's just, how do we label it? And if it's labeled from a Buddhist perspective, well, that's evil, right? So this is how it is. And so it's quite fascinating. When we were in Ireland for the pilgrimage, we learned a lot about, we really sat in with the toxic capitalist, patriarchal colonizer, but also the damage the church did, how much. When I even sat with the Sheila Nagig, and a lot of people worship the Sheila Nagig and they go, oh yeah, she's the epitome of feminine power and this and that and sexuality. And honestly, when I was in some of these old 2,000, 3,000 year old monasteries and abbeys and churches, all I saw was the church going like this and being we just took your feminine power. We own you. This is a reminder that you belong to us. that women have no place in the new era of the church. That's what I saw. And it doesn't mean that the old ways is that's what she was. Like, this is the fascinating things. I feel my third eye is opened. Yes, it's going to continue. This is what a lot of people like me have been asking for and hoping. All I would say is stay open, find really rooted teachers. Don't listen to fly-by-night people. Listen to somebody who's been doing this work 20 plus 30 years, but also has done the unpacking of toxic capitalist and colonizer issues. Because unfortunately, and this is the other thing I saw when I was in Ireland, and then when I came back, I even saw it more from my international witches and pagan people and all that stuff. American spiritual peeps have a lot of growth to do. We don't go to sacred sites, and we don't take things from sacred sites. And there was a huge international call out by the international community in Scotland and Ireland from a woman in Florida, some of you may have seen it, who took something from a sacred site and thought she was entitled to it. This is the problem with New Age witching in America and New Age spiritual communities. So I would just say, yes, thank you for awakening. We've been calling on you, but make sure you choose your teachers appropriately, or else you might be learning the wrong things. Okay? Yeah, so you were born into this, Anna. Like, seeing the ghosts? Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, there you go. You know, so this is where it's like, you know, 33, by the way, is a master number. It's a master number. Kamala Harris, her numerology in 2024 is the master number 11. That is the justice card. That is the number for the presidency. That is the number for the balance of the masculine and feminine. The 11 is powerful. It's not only keep your thoughts positive, like when you see people post like, oh, 11, like keep your thoughts positive. And I go, hold your horses. That's toxic positivity. 11 can also mean keep your thoughts positive, but also be mindful of your negative thoughts, because those will all amplify too. So anyway, I have a client that just walking in. Time to go. Have a good day, and we will talk again soon. And hopefully you find this helpful. All the links to the podcast are in the bio. The link to the YouTube account is in the bio. And I'm glad you found it was beautiful. And have a great day. If you feel inclined, feel free to buy me a coffee. Have a day. Bye-bye.